Monday morning, we are joined by Cameron Smith for half an hour, who is now, in retirement. He now becomes a candidate, I believe, for an SAS or a MasterChef celebrity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Prime candidate, Cameron. We were asked rugby league's involvement in that program. Brandy and I are a bit vague.
Yes.
And then people started to rattle off names. The Chief had a crack. Matt Rogers had a crack. Cameron Smith, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. The Smith kids would love it, wouldn't they? See Dad in the jungle
Vossy,
in
please.
Africa.
Vossy.
How good?
Come on, mate.
Come on.
Don't put pressure on me. I'll be honest. My kids actually love watching this show. I'll be honest. I love watching it too. I like the eating challenges.
There you go.
I just love all that type of stuff, Brandy. Yeah, I love that type of stuff. It's very entertaining.
The makers of the show know how much you love it. I'm sure they wouldn't have to offer much.
Can we change subjects? Because I'm sure this is going to get back to someone in charge of this show, and they're going to invite me on there.
I think there's your clickbait headline. Smith puts hand up for next.
No.
Smith Keen.
No.
Smith Keen.
So you're watching the current series, and Brandon and I his name escapes me. We should know him, but Steve Irwin's son. What's his first name? We said Irving,
Robert,
but it's not Irving.
Robert
Irwin. Right.
Bobby. I called him Bobby.
Bobby. He got him Bobby Irwin.
Yeah.
Bobby might have been the father, but and then
That's Steve.
Who did we say? Jenny Morris. Is it? Who's Julia
Morris.
Yes, Julia
yeah.
Morris. Okay, we're all over it. Okay,
And who's the AFL player, Cam?
Yeah, who's the AFL
There's
player?
an ex
Is it Peter Dacos?
Peter Dacos.
Yeah,
There you
AFL
go.
legend.
Nice. Who's your favourite, Cameron, then, to win this year?
Who am I going to back in here? I don't know. Maybe, surely the AFL guys have done really well that have gone on there. So maybe Dacos.
I think you owe it to the sport of rugby
You'll
league,
have an
Cameron,
offer
for
on
you
your
to be the
table
next.
before we finish this program.
Actually,
Before the
very
hour's
good.
up, you'll have an
my
offer.
email just went off. Hang on.
Yeah.
I might go in this season.
Well, those VB ads you did with the rope and all that. There's your little show reel you sent it to them. You'd go good.
Oh,
go
mate,
good.
Come on,
But just
Vossy.
in case you're not, if you don't make it to the next show, there's Dan said, here's a couple of options.
Right.
The Cheese, so Brandon Smith,
Yes.
Victor Radley, Cameron Munster, Sean Johnson, Ricky Stewart, Bellamy, and Bennett. So any one of those.
Okay,
six
just
or
put them all
seven.
in there. Sticky. Now, Cameron, we're going to try and pin you down on something here. Because I don't think, you've been asked a million questions in your playing career, post-playing career, but I don't reckon you've ever been asked this.
Right.
Because now you are not a player.
Okay.
You're a former player. So I
Yes.
think you're allowed to answer this. Now, I admit, as a commentator, you get a soft spot for teams. If they're going through a rough trot, I remember Newcastle going through an awful streak there a number of years back, and suddenly they break through for a win.
Yep.
You feel good about it when they get through. You played with Melbourne all your career. Do you actually have a soft spot for another team or teams, Cameron? So, when the Tigers win the other night, do you feel good for them? Do you have that part of you, Cameron, or are you a ruthless, cold-hearted Melbourne Storm through and through?
Well, I'm a Storm person through and through. I always will be. So I'm always going to be following Melbourne quite closely and wanting them to win. But no, I think as a football person, as a fan, you love to see the teams that have struggled for periods of time get up and play well and have a win. I guess if there's any other club or team in the competition that I've had a soft spot for, even when I was playing, it was probably the Cowboys. Yeah, for some reason that was sort of my team I'd like to follow. Whenever they were playing, if I had the opportunity to watch their games, I'd watch their games. Maybe it was because I had a few sort of teammates through Origin, playing in that footy side. Jonathan Thurston, of course, played up there for the most part of his career. So, yeah, I think Cowboys were my team away from
Were
Storm.
you a Broncos
that I
fan
followed.
as a kid, though?
Oh,
Who were
huge,
you as
massive.
a kid? You were a Broncos fan, weren't you? Yeah.
Mate, Broncos through and through, Vossy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and they're probably next in line. I like seeing when Brisbane are playing well and they're up and about. Footy is flying in sort of southeast Queensland. It's just everyone's talking about it. There's big crowds and that's what we love to see. But I think for mine it was the Cowboys.
Okay. Southeast Queensland team, the Titans, not flying at the moment.
No.
And now going to have to fly without Tino.
Yeah, huge. Such a big blow for the Titans. He's, if you look at, the performances of that football side, that entire squad over the last couple of years, he's been the shining light. I think, you'd both agree with that, but that's just a massive blow for, the Gold Coast Titans and really, it's their skipper gone. So they're not in great form at all at the moment. I was really surprised by the way they come out and played. Like, not taking anything away from the Bulldogs, because I think a lot of people have been waiting for that type of performance from them, given the signings and the big name players that have come across to them in the off season. But they get dusted up by the Dragons in round one, have a week off. I was expecting a huge performance over the weekend, given they'd come off the bye from the Titans. So that's huge for them. And looking, at their stocks moving forward, it's going to be a long year for them. Their reserve grade side, they've got a couple of feeder clubs up here, the Tweed. They are 0-3, the Tweed. They haven't won a game in the Queensland Cup. They also have Ipswich, who are doing a little bit better. They've won one match, but I think there's some positive signs. Like Jaden Campbell returned on the weekend, played Queensland Cup for Tweed. So hopefully he's not far away. I know Joe Stimson's playing a little bit of Queensland Cup as well. So
Dave Fafita still to come back.
Yeah, still. So they got a few to come back, but it's not great signs for Gold Coast at all this year.
Okay, are the Cowboys back? Is the Cowboys not a false dawn? This is the real deal. They're averaging 36 points a game. They're the only team that are 3-0 for Bailey Ladders. Cowboys are 3-0 at the top of the table, and then we have a whole bunch of teams on 4. But are the Cowboys the real deal? Do you want to go the early crow, Cameron? Do you want to go the early crow and say Cowboys going to make the top 4? We'll have the crow on standby if you are.
Well, I don't know if that's an early crow or not, Vossy, because I think they're a top 4 footy side. I really think they are. It's in there anyway. I didn't want it to be, but I've gone early crow. When you watch, they'll lose the next 3 now.
So did you pick the Cows in your pre-season? Were they in your top 4?
Absolutely, Brandy. Yep. And look, they got away to a pretty slow start on the weekend, which I thought, geez, they're in a bit of trouble here. But their attack is so silky. If you give them opportunities and you give Drinkwater time and space, like he's in a very good sort of patch of form at the moment, and all the other guys are supporting him, with his movements and the footy that he's playing. They're playing some great footy. I love the way that they move the ball. They're a really entertaining side to watch, but they're really hard to defend as well because of the constant movement. So not only are they asking questions on the edges of the field, but they're constantly making the big men move around. So it just puts it puts a lot of fatigue into the opposition footy side. So when they get it right and they hold onto the ball, they're such a hard team to play against. The only thing that I'm going to put down against those 3 wins is possibly, they've played against some opposition that they are, I believe, they're a class above. So they haven't really been tested yet, right? So who'd they beat? Dolphins first up. And then Newcastle, that's right. And they only got away with the Golden Point victory. Yep. And then again on the weekend against St. George. So the big test this week is obviously Broncos Friday night. But they get them at a great time. They get them at a very good time with a few of their key players out.
Yeah, no pain, no Reece Walsh. Just on Reece Walsh is the quickest player. Like he's the quickest player I've seen.
Yep.
And he's certainly the quickest player over the 15 metres and the trouble that he can, cause defences. Drinkwater's not far behind him. Drinkwater is a handful. When he gets the ball in his hand, you can just see a bit of panic in the defensive player's eyes because he's just that quick. Now, so the Cowboys are 3-0, but what about the team that's 0-3? Are the Rabbitohs the only two? That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, the Titans are without a win, but they've only played the 2.
That's right.
They were terrible.
Yep. You were going to say hopeless there. You were going to say hopeless there for a moment.
Well, I was going to say hopeless.
They were second rate. Cameron. What do they do? What does South do?
Well, they played the same, or if not worse, the week before as well against the Broncos. So I worked on that game, and they they never looked like they were in the match, really. And Broncos were just as bad in the first half, but they come good in the second. But they were completely outplayed on the weekend against the Roosters. Now I know they had a there was a big reason they got up for it. The Chooks with Jared's 300th. There's no doubt about that. But I just think that they're being out-competed. That's what they're doing, and that's got nothing to do with talent. Absolutely zero to do with talent. When you're being out-competed and out-enthused, that's it doesn't matter. How classy your squad is. The elite players that you have in your team. If they're not competing as much as the opposition, then you're going to find it really hard to beat the other team. That's where they fix it. That's really where they fix it. And leaving Lachlan Ilias out, like dropping your halfback, does that solve the issues that South have at the moment? I don't think so. I really don't think. I really don't think he's played that bad. I'd be, if Lachlan Ilias deserves to be dropped, then I'd be looking at a lot of players around him as well.
Absolutely. I like Lachie Ilias. Seems like there was a moment of we've got to do something. We've got to do something. And Lockie's, he's made some errors the first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
But he's still a better option than Dean Hawkins at halfback. So it just seemed it smacked of something had to happen.
Yep.
And thought that change would somehow ignite the team. But you're right. And the thing that stood out for me, Cam, in the game, and so early on too, was that there was no pressure on the Roosters kickers. None.
No.
You'd have a look at the line. The line didn't move. It wasn't until Cook came on where Cook had jumped out of marker and put a little bit of pressure on, but no one was moving. Their line was still.
Yep.
Think of Cody Walker Origin 3 last year, man of the match.
Yes.
How far off that form is Cody Walker? Let's put the blowtorch on star players. Mitchell's been a good contributor. The first two games, and certainly in Vegas, he tried his heart out. But Cody Walker, at what he's capable of, is he any better than 50%? What he's contributed to the team this year? I don't think you're being unfair in assessing him that savagely.
No. And, I think... we're all aware of the quality of player that Cody Walker is, and Latrell Mitchell, right? These two guys, but they are playing well below their own standards. They really are. And I thought against the Roosters, I thought Cody Walker, I thought he put himself in the game a lot more than what he had in the previous two matches. So that's a good sign. But still, when the team needs something, like these two are the players that need to step up and run the footy side, and I just don't think we've seen enough of those two in the opening 3 rounds to really have a positive impact on their footy side.
Cameron Smith with us on Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy. You can text in a question 0457 736 736. Another reality TV show, maybe more up your alley here. Suggested for you, Cameron, is Survivor. Would you go on Survivor? Would you seriously go on Survivor? Would you give yourself a crack at that? Yeah?
Yeah, probably out of all the shows, I probably would, yeah. I think I love watching
There's
Survivor.
another headline.
Love watching it.
Smith now changed his mind, puts hand up for Survivor.
You're
there.
Mate, it'll be Smith's putting hand up for any show available. That's what they're
reality. That's it. Just get his...
Reality TV Cam. That's what they'll be
calling
calling
that's it.
No.
James Magnuson, we thought, had that mantle, but you're now taking over. From Cameron on the text line, different Cameron, he says, idea for a new TV show. I'm an NRL coach. Get me out of here.
Well, so
there'll be a few this year.
Who's thinking that after the weekend? Des, definitely.
Des.
That's a tough afternoon back at Belmore, isn't
Jason
it?
Demetriou.
Flano.
JD.
Definitely.
Yep.
Flano.
Flano. Thinking, gee, I wish I was still commentating.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What did you do, Flano? Come on. Another one here. Did you see a photo of Cameron Smith with blonde hair on the Matty John show? Oh my God.
Was it really?
So when was that, Cameron? You obviously didn't see the show last night, but they've run a photo with you with blonde hair. When was that? When was that period phase of your life?
That was way back in 2007, fellas, and it wasn't by choice. So that was a bit of a stitch up, really. So long story short, there was any sort of if you're late or sort of any disciplinary sort of things went on, we had this. You had to roll these these dice, right? And whatever number come up when you roll the two dice,
Right,
you
that
had
was your punishment.
Yes, the punishment. And I had dyed hair. But I'll tell you real quickly, it was a stitch-up, right? So Matty Johns was coming down. So we trained on a Tuesday. Matty Johns was coming down to do a session on the Wednesday, right? I did weights early with our forwards and left training before anything was locked away and confirmed, right?
Right.
I was then not told what time was going on. Turned up the next day to do, my first session with the forwards. Matty Johns had already been there, so I might have turned up 15 minutes late without knowing that it was on. The session was on. But anyway, the boys seen the opportunity. So I was the captain at the time. They seen an opportunity to stitch me up, and they stitched me up. Sure enough, rolled the dice, got the bleach hair, and that's how we ended up with
What was there bleach hair on all 6 sides of the dice?
No,
had bleach hair?
If you rolled 7, right? Because when you're rolling 2, is it dice or die? What do you say? Is it two dice, 2 die, whatever?
Well, your story.
We'll go with die.
Yeah, that's the most
dice.
That's the most
I think
common.
die might be singular.
That's the most common number to roll, right? When you're rolling 2 dice.
Right. Yeah, you're sure.
Is 7. So yeah, sure enough, rolled the 7. The meeting room erupted, and I turned up a couple of days later with blonde hair.
Very good. Well, there you go. We got to the bottom of that story.
Yet, but I'll be searching old footage.
That's it.
That's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Observation to Cameron. Cameron has a soft spot for his fellow ref, Ashley Klein. Thank you for that text. Never gets old. Cameron Smith seems to have a soft spot. Okay, this is a true or false. True or false, Cam? Cam Smith seems to have a soft spot for the Warriors.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for the Wars. Absolutely. Yeah.
Up the Wars. So true. Lock that in, Eddie.
That's true. Yeah.
True is the answer.
Do you
It is
play
21
Cody
after 8.
Oh, you want to have a break, or do you?
Well,
I
think you can fire
I'll
away
throw
a question.
this one up. Does South play Cody at 14 off the bench? Let's face it, he's lost a yard or 2 of pace, and maybe South would be better off keeping him fresh and bringing him on against a tied defence. So do you?
No.
Well, what are your options at 5'8"? Jack Whiten, I guess, if you're benching Cody.
No, I don't think so. No, I think leave him there at 6.
Keep it as it is.
Yep. Just say, mate, we need more from you. Get the ball in your hands and get us going.
Do you move Latrell to the centres or keep him at fullback?
No, I think leave them as they are, because we've seen moments of brilliance from Latrell in every match that he's played, but there have been moments. We just need more of them.
Okay, after the break, Frank the Shark's got a question. We've heard the teams Cameron had the soft spot for were their teams he hated. We'll try and get that answer out of him. And from a former teammate of Cameron Smith, but anonymous on the text. Did I just hear correctly? Did Smithy say he was doing weights? Question mark. That's it. The GOAT here on Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy, the home of Sport SEN. Breakfast powered by Kubota. Take on any job with Kubota's mowers, tractors and land pride attachments.